Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I think many of us are aware of what happened here at the Capitol last Saturday, where about 30 demonstrators were arrested on the Capitol steps. And it raised some questions for me and for other people with whom I've spoken about how we police our capital, the people's capital, and how we make it accessible for folks who seek to petition their government for redress of grievances. You know, in some ways, the arrests that occurred are kind of a culmination of the events that have happened over the last several weeks here at the Capitol. I think that a lot of the socially divisive legislation has brought a lot of questioning out there and have brought a lot of folks to the Capitol to legitimately ask questions of their legislature about what we're doing down here. I might say that I think a lot of folks here have a lot of respect for the Capitol Police. They do a wonderful job, very respectful, and do all they can to protect the security and safety of those of us who work every day in this building and those of us who work around Capitol Square. But if you take a look at the photographs on the internet, you see more than the Capitol Police at work here on Saturday. Police dressed in tactical garb with shields, machine guns, people other than what we typically see in the Capitol Police. And so it raises some questions among a number of people about how we make the Capitol available for people who have legitimate claims to petition our government for redress of grievances. And so in order to try to answer some of those questions, I authored a letter to Colonel Stephen Pike of the Capitol Police. And in it, I wasn't trying to second-guess anyone or Monday morning quarterback this issue, but I tried to raise a number of questions that I hope we can all be attentive to. Because remember, we in the House and the Senate are the ones who control Capitol grounds. We have a protocol in place. That protocol should operate to allow people the right to peaceably assemble. And that protocol also sets the demarcation lines for where people can go and where they have to stay away from. So I'd like to talk with the Colonel about the specific protocol about the issuance of permits for demonstrations, the degree to which the Attorney General has looked at the protocols to see if they pass constitutional muster, the person or persons who decides and who authorizes the mobilization of various tactical squads, additional local police, and SWAT teams, both related to the Capitol Police and unrelated to the Capitol Police, and about how decisions are made for the deployment of various weapons, which we have seen in a number of these photographs over the last few days. I'm also interested to know, over the last 10 years, how frequently have these SWAT or tactical teams been mobilized, and under what conditions have they been mobilized to deal with peaceful demonstrators? You know, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, the Capitol Police are on the front lines of protecting the rights and liberties of citizens of the Commonwealth. It's a very difficult job and often subjects those officers to abuse, criticism, and second-guessing. At the same time, we have to find a way to protect the public's right to access to this wonderful Capitol and its grounds to make sure that their ability to assemble under their rights in the First Amendment are protected and they can present their grievances to their representatives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Shenandoah, Mr. Gilbert.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Gentleman has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank, regardless of some of the imagery that the gentleman has taken hold of and tried to use to advance the notion that somehow someone overreacted, I want to thank the men and women of the Capitol Police and our state police for upholding the rule of law. And frankly, Mr. Speaker, we have had a number of groups throughout the years and throughout even this session who have believed very strongly in an issue who have come to Capitol Square, which, by the way, is the province of the Department of General Services, who sets the rules on permitting protests and such, not the Capitol Police. So if the gentleman wants to address his concerns to someone, I suggest he start with the Department of General Services. Capitol Police only enforce the rules that General Services sets up, as far as I understand, Mr. Speaker. But I want to thank men and women of law enforcement who addressed an issue that went beyond the permit process. And again, I alluded to those groups that have come here throughout the years and throughout this session to protest, to talk about an issue that's important to them. In fact, most of the people who show up here on Capitol Square protest an issue that is the most important thing to them in the world. And certainly that was true of the people that were here over the weekend. But just because something is important to you and you are upset about it or angry about it or motivated to do something about it doesn't mean you can disregard the rule of law, disregard the rules that are set up for protests in this square, and frankly put our police in a situation where they have to try and control that acting outside of the boundaries that are set up for lawful protests. So, Mr. Speaker, you know, we can try to say that someone overreacted, and we can try to say that that the images somehow run counter to the experience of exercising our First Amendment rights that we expect rightfully to go on here in Capitol Square. But when people do not obey the law and people do not obey the rules, they are putting our police in a position where they have to react. And thankfully, we have people who are very dedicated who do react and do try to control not only the rule of law, but try to make sure that our Capitol grounds, and frankly, that the gentleman from Charlottesville and everyone else in this chamber and in this building and on its grounds are safe. And I'm not suggesting that anyone was ever unsafe, Mr. Speaker. I'm simply suggesting that the protesters knew what the rules were. They violated them. They did so in a way that they knew was going to draw a response. And they did so in a way that they knew perhaps they were going to get arrested. And people have the right to civil disobedience in this country and in this Commonwealth. And they exercised it. And they should understand that if they exercise civil disobedience, especially when they violate the rules and the law, that there will be consequences. Mr. Speaker, we've had, again, any number of groups come to this Capitol, protest that which is important to them. The only time during this session we have ever seen people having to be forcibly ejected from the Capitol building, from the General Assembly building, for behavior which was not within the decorum that we normally expect in our civil discourse, was during the debate that the people were here, that during the debate that caused the people to be here at that time and on this weekend, Mr. Speaker. So, again, I'm very thankful for the men and women of law enforcement who protect us, who protect our grounds, who protect our Capitol. The gentleman from Charlottesville should also know that there are things that have gone on behind the scenes that he may not even be aware of. People receiving very vile, threatening emails and calls. A couple of members just reminded me of some disturbing calls that they have received that I think have been turned over to our Capitol Police. I think there have been acts of vandalism around our Capitol that the public is not yet aware of, and that the gentleman from Charlottesville may not yet be aware of, that were in the context of the debate that drew the people here over the weekend. So I just want to remind the gentleman, I know he was very measured in his comments and very measured in the request he made of the Capitol Police, but I wanted to make sure he was addressing his concerns to the right place, to the right entity, and I want to help the gentleman understand some of the things that have gone on behind the scenes that perhaps have caused our police to react the way they did. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from Lynchburg, Mr. Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.